Mike, Stove is a star. I'm gonna say this again. Mike, like his hook game is Method Man-ish in terms of the entertainment level of his hook
Ooh,
game.
heavy.
His hook game is entertaining like that, Mike. Like he is entertaining, Mike. Like his bars are there too. Like this guy can spit on side A and on side B. Like the stuff is stellar, like Ulster Tag, and the hook, Mike. The hook, the 99 Aber, Mike. Yeah, like
You
he's entertaining. He's witty. His ad libs are funny.
you know, I'm
That's why I
looking at the
told you he's
track.
like Two-Faced to me. No. That's why he's like Two-Faced to me because he's talking about the business and handling the business, but he's putting some like character and some articulation into it. And it's like, no, that's the type of stuff that you put like up front. Like I told you, like 99 Everett should have been like no further than like track 12.
You know, I can't help but look at this track list, right? And you know, we got to highlight the production too. I know we're talking about the features, but you're looking at the same track list I'm looking at. What producer do you think actually got off the most on this album? Like, who brought the most heat?
Ooh, hold on. Let me pull it. Let me
I
pull it
like the
up
work that
exactly right now.
Camouflage Monk did. I ain't gonna front. You know what I'm saying? He did Julia Lang. He did
I mean,
Forest Lawn. I like his sound. I like his sound with Westside.
see, I mean, it's all over the place because my favorite records, Oster Tag is Alchemist, 99 Averex is Green Lantern, uh, Hell on Earth 2 is Sovereign, Free Cutter is Jay Versace, who did the Versace project with Boldy, uh, Dion is Danny LaFleur and Camouflage Monk, Best Dressed Demons is Derringer. I mean, Camouflage Monk got off like a few tracks because if he did why I do him like that, Forest Lawn, and Celine Dion, those are three of the best produced tracks on there. So he would be the guy
And
that it looks
Julia
like got
Lang.
off on
For
side
me.
B.
Yeah.
Huh?
And Julia
So,
Lang.
oh, he did Julia Lane too.
Yep.
Yeah, but he's the one that got off then because those are four great tracks. You know what I mean? Production and beat wise. But it's like you said though, like on the executive production side, how about this, Mike? The biggest issue is song sequencing and editing. But what I'm saying is that if you edit, that makes the song sequencing easier. Like edit first, like take 3 or 4 of these records out and play this album and see what it sounds like, and then start placing stuff.
Right. Um, okay. Michael Sanders says I enjoyed the album. It was just
And it's
long.
still in
Stove
third.
God Cook's hooks are on another level.
I
Uh
told you, Mike.
yeah.
I told you he's Method Manish. He's not meth because to me meth is still like the best hook guy pound for pound, like ever. But like his hooks are like sickly addictive the way Method Man's are. Like you know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Who would you
Yeah.
say had the most impressive feature on this album?
I mean, Stove Hook on 99 Averex is the best hook on the album, Mike.
Okay.
But Conway's performance on Hell on Earth too, Mike. I mean, it's like that beat is made for Conway. And I want to say something. It's like
Mm-hmm.
here are my thoughts right quick. Let's go to there because it's
Go
the
ahead.
first real song on the album and it's the first feature. When I heard Benny, I was like, man, I was like, he sounds great. He sounds fresh. He sounds nice. He sounds focused. I was like, he's closing the gap on Conway. And then I heard Conway and I was like, but that's still the best rapper in the game right now.
Conway is the best rapper in the game right now, and it just is what it is.
It's
You know, and that's why I'm kind of like grading him on a curve, right? So I mean, I think he
I
has the
mean,
best verse on the album, right? He got the
right.
best verse on the album, but for me, I think the most impressive feature, man, was Amani Caesar, man. I mean,
So,
she,
so we're gonna talk about her in a second,
yeah,
but what I've been talking about with Benny, and I kind of realized it when I heard Conway, is that once upon a time, in like Benny's a top 5 MC,
hmm
Mike. Like a lot of people feel
right
like Benny
now,
is the best, and if you feel that way, like there's some evidence and credence to that. But one thing that Raekwon did to step out of the shadows of Method Man and Old Dirty Bastard is that he made a classic album that made people realize that he was comparable to those guys. Like,
yeah.
no, I'm a legend too.
I think Ray was
Yeah.
the first one to really step out of the clan and, you know what I'm saying, separate himself in that way from the star figures in the clan, like Method Man and Old Dirty. I mean, because Jizza's Jizza, you know what I mean? I don't really count him because he's
I
like the
mean, Mike,
OG.
and he was older too. Mike,
Yeah,
he was already like, I think in his like early 30s when like all of that started
yeah, yeah.
happening to them. So you know
He's
what I'm
the
saying? Or late
OG.
20s. Yeah, he's the OG. So he was probably kind of more, yeah.
Yeah, it's like y'all fight for that, you know what I mean? I'm just out here doing my thing. He's like Master
Right.
Splinter. He like to see them shine.
Right.
Yeah. Um, Okay,
But
so you're saying that Benny's gonna have to just jump out and make a purple tape, is what you just said.
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's the only thing he's missing because when I'm hearing him right next to Conway, I mean, it's like, well, I can't say that you're the best rapper in the game when that guy's right there, like right now, like that. But it's like all the tools are there, and it's like really, I mean, the separation started to happen to me like from a king to a god.
I'm from a king to a god was definitely the separation. I mean, for me, I mean, you know me, I was more of a Benny fan, you know, rubber bands and weight, things of that nature and all that. And
97 Grove, Rick,
you know,
yeah,
yeah, plugs I met,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? But when Conway dropped that, I was like, oh yeah, you right, Conway the better rapper. It is what it is.
it
And
is,
it's gonna take that kind of effort, you know, for that to be that gap to be kind of closed a little bit.
right
It's
because
not gonna go out there and redo any of the work that Conway's done out here, but the gap is just getting larger and larger. And I say that respectfully because, you know, Benny gets all the hype too. That kind of keeps the gap going as well because Benny gets hyped up the most. And that's
well,
what
you know,
keeps Conway super hungry.
here's what I'm saying. It's like, no, I heard a verse where I heard a guy that's like closing the gap. It's like, so it's like, but it's a high level that Conway is at right now. And also understand too, it's like I'm not really like guys like Nas and AZ, they don't qualify in this conversation to me. Like they're somewhere else. So when I'm talking about who the best rapper is, I'm talking about somebody who's really active. And it's like I know Nas is active. I just don't think it's fair
No, the thing
to
is, we're talking about people who are creating their legacy now. Nas's
right. It's like
legacy
he
is
is who
cemented.
he is. Like I
Yeah,
don't want him in this.
yeah.
So it's like what I hear is like Conway's just like at the peak of this, and there are guys like Benny, Gibbs. I mean, you know, Push is my guy, but we haven't heard from him really like regularly in a minute. You know what I'm saying? Kendrick, like all these guys, like they're right there in that spectrum. So Benny is still one of those guys that like in those spectrum. It's just Conway is that guy right now. And like Hell on Earth 2 and Spoons on side A is more evidence to it. You know what I'm
Like you
saying?
said about Jigga though, Pusha since his last album, he's gotten married. You know, he had a kid. He's living his, you know, his life is different. Michael Sanders says Conway all day for the best feature. The problem is Benny can't fuck with Conway. He's definitely up there, but Conway is just a different man.
That's what I just said. I just said the same shit.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, people agree. I think
Yeah.
it's very
No.
evident here. Yeah.
We on the same level. So let's go to the next feature, which is the J Electronica feature, Mike. And
Hmm.
guess what? Isn't it great to be talking about J Electronica actively
Yeah, Jay
doing
Electronica's
music?
doing work.
Because no, because I want to say this. Have you heard a verse from him that wasn't stellar over the last couple of years, or at least above average?
You want to know what I want
Have
to
you
say
heard?
about Jay Electronica?
No,
I
I
think
just want to know. I just want to know that when he does work, like, have you heard anything that wasn't dope? Because my whole
right.
thing was, it's not like dude's not like one of the dopest MCs I ever heard. It's like, where's the work to show evidence to it? And it's like the last couple of years. It's guess what, Mike? We're starting to see some
You
evidence.
know why though? I think because the game is caught up to where he wants to be. And let me clarify that a little bit. I think that when he first dropped Exhibit C and all that stuff, everything was still very radio. Everything was still very mainstream. You got to have this, you got to work with this person, you got to do this, you got to do that. I think that we're in the industry right now, musically, things are free flowing. Like we just said about, you know, AZ dropping the album that he dropped. People can go out there and make music out of the love a lot easier now than they were able to do in 2009, 2010. And I think that's why we're seeing so much work from Jay Electronica now. I would imagine for artists, the game's a lot more inspiring because you have so many different people who are active. Like, it's not one of those things like how they were doing when Kendrick Cole and Drake came out. It was like, who you listening to now? Kendrick Cole. Who you listening to now? Kendrick Cole. Like, it was almost damn near a script for everybody. Now it's so much out there. A person like Jay Electronica can see like, yo, let me jump on this album. Let me jump on this album.
All those things are true. But can I kind of play devil's advocate a little bit?
Go ahead.
Like, part of the reason why people like think that Muhammad Ali is the greatest, is not only like the bravado, the skill set. Like, he fought everybody, Mike.
Yeah.
And he never ducked anybody. If you look at the list of people who he's fought, like 8 or 9 of those guys are like in the Boxing Hall of Fame themselves.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? Like he didn't just fight regular boxers. Like, no, he fought some of the greatest fighters who ever lived, and he beat them all pretty much. And if he fought you twice, he definitely beat you. And what I'm saying is that my whole thing with electronica is like everything that you're saying is true, but that doesn't mean you're not supposed to go out and box, Mike.
Well, see that that's the, but see, I'm speaking to
no, Mike. Because here's one thing that you have to give guys like Nas and Jay and Snoop. Oh no, when you're at a certain skill level, oh no, you can go out and box in any era.
Listen, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%.
LL Cool J is the first person that I started thinking of when you started talking. Actually, I was thinking, man, LL doesn't like survive like I personally like grew up in an era where LL was like considered to be faded and watched him come back while I was in middle school and high school.
No.
Like after him being hot when I was like a young kid, and then like
I agree. Listen, I agree with you, and that goes into that whole chamber of people like Lauryn Hill, Andre 3000, who only wake up when they're quote unquote inspired, and we got to give more points and credence to people like Big Boy and people like Jay, Nas, who work when they're not inspired. You don't think Jay-Z had many different albums when in his prime when he wasn't inspired? You think he was inspired during Volume 3? He still cranked it out. You know what I'm saying? And you got to give props to that. With that being said, though, you said a lot there, and I couldn't help but think about Kendrick. Has Kendrick dropped in weaker years when you talk about Muhammad Ali fighting the best of the best? Yeah. And one thing I will say about Jay Electronica, he never claimed to be this, that, and the third. If you claim to be this, that, and the third, drop in heavy years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like Mike, I mean, Ali fought Sonny Liston. Mm-hmm. Like when nobody wanted to fight Sonny Liston. Sonny Liston was Mike Tyson before Mike Tyson.
Right.
He fought George Foreman when people thought George Foreman was going to kill him. George Foreman was really the baddest man on the planet before Mike Tyson, and was undefeated before Ali beat him. He fought Joe Frazier, who was arguably like still like the second, third, or fourth greatest heavyweight of all time.
And just not a good matchup.
And the only reason Joe Frazier isn't considered the greatest heavyweight of all time is because he lost to Ali twice as opposed to the other way around. Like that's how bad Joe Frazier was. Like he fought Ken Norton.
No, you're right, but Joe Frazier was great.
What I'm saying, like this is rap is a competitive. I'm bringing up boxing because rap is a competitive sport. It's like, and obviously when this dude boxes, he's great. He's like if you're doing a top 10 contender list right now over the last 2 years, he's on that list. Everything that he's done has been high level and quality. It's what people have been asking for. It's like, so, proceed.
Well, what I was going to say was, George Foreman beat the hell out of Frazier twice. So I would have to put George Foreman over Frazier. But Frazier was great. I think that, but what I will say, that was a bad matchup.
Joe Frazier knocked Muhammad Ali to the canvas, which is
what I was gonna say though, what I will give Ali props on for fighting Joe Frazier, that just wasn't a good matchup for Ali, and he went at it anyway. You know what I'm saying? Styles make fights.
Mike, if you actually like want to look at Ali, that's the only bad matchup for him. Every other matchup is like an advantage for him. He's like 6'2.5". His reach is like 76, 77.
His
Yeah,
speed
like
and everything.
every other matchup is to his advantage anyway. Except
And the
for,
other
like,
part that was at his disadvantage is he was coming off of that suspension too. So
like
that's a tough person
even
to
against
fight.
Foreman, I think people forget, if I'm not mistaken, like Foreman's bigger, but Ali's reach is longer. Like Ali's jab is the best punch in the history of boxing.
I mean, I think that also when you talk about mechanics and all that, like he just had Foreman beat on every level, and he fought him out there in the hot African sun, and he was a lot smaller than him, and he was able to dance around and tire him out and knock him out. But
he
that
had like
comes with
heavyweight technique and skill in a heavyweight's body.
Exactly, the greatest ever.
Exactly.
But I don't want to get too off course. I think that Amani Caesar's feature on this album impressed me a lot.
I did too.
It impressed me because the track was different. And I like 2 Chainz. I'm one of those people who really digs Chainz, and you could tell that track was even different for him. Him being from the South, you're used to be jumping on tracks and just being really acrobatic on different styles or whatnot. He was jumping around on it, and you could tell that he wasn't totally comfortable on it. She got on that thing and was comfortable as hell on that record, man. I'm looking forward to another Amani Caesar album. She's a wild card to me in this whole Griselda thing. I know we interviewed Love the Genius, and I think she's a wild card too. And I told her the same thing when we interviewed her. I think both of them have 2 different dynamics that if these things are handled right, this separates them from any other crew to ever do it.
No, like they have 2 dope female MCs within the framework of Griselda who do things succinctly differently but do them well.
And can do things together too.
Yeah, and sound great together. The Tunchi record is evidence to the fact that they can sound great together. Right next to Armani, I put the flow is getting better, Mike. That was the first thing I noticed. I was like, oh, her flow and her delivery and her confidence is like, it's up the notch, and you can tell. And that is usually a confidence thing. I can hear her confidence, not like I hear confidence as an MC. Her confidence.
I think it was the best flow in the whole album.
Better.
No gas, but I think it was the best flow in the whole album.
I don't know about that.
Because when I heard the track, I wasn't really feeling the track like that until she got on it. To be perfectly honest with you, because when I heard the track, and I knew 2 Chainz was coming, and we're talking about. Let me be specific. We're talking about Forest Lawn. So when I heard the track, produced by Camouflage Monk, I was like, okay, this is cool, because you kind of get his style. It has that Julie Galang style, had a lot of space and all that. And I was like, I don't know if I wanted to hear 2 Chainz on this though. And when I heard him come in, I'm like, okay, it's a decent feature. But when she came in, I was pleasantly surprised because I wasn't even, after he came, I was like, man, I wonder how she gonna come on this. And she killed it.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
No, it sounded like it was her track. She owned that track so much that I felt like that sounded like that was already her track, and she just gave it to Westside for this album.
No, she definitely stole the show on the track. One of the things, and just seeing 2 Chainz on the album, I felt like he gave a solid performance. Mm-hmm. But he's got a whole Griselda connection now. I mean, he's been on Plugs 2, La Maquina, and now Hitler Wears Hermes 8. So, he's obviously made a connection with those guys, and they're making music together. And all the tracks he's done with them have been solid. And so I'm going to give him just a solid overall grade. That is one of those beats that's sneaky tough to rhyme to.
It is. No. And
you'll hear it in the studio, and you'll want to jump on it. And then you'll go put on the headphones and get in, and you'll hear it, and you're like, oh, hold on. I didn't write it like that. Give me 5.
But see, that's why I'm giving her so many props too, because it's like you see how difficult a track like this is to flow off of, because you got an experienced person like 2 Chainz kind of struggling with the track. and she
I
comes
wouldn't
in and
say he
just
struggled.
takes
I
it.
thought his performance was more solid than yours was, but I do get what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, I
And
don't know.
also too, man, this is like some ball player shit. Like
Yeah,
sometimes like your all-star players like don't score like 20, 25, 30 every night. You know what I mean?
maybe I
And
was
that's what I mean.
expecting
It's
a
like
lot
this
from his
perform.
feature.
How about this? It's like 2 Chainz is an all-star. So it's like an all-star to me is somebody usually give you something like at least 26-6. And it's like this was
Right.
more like a 17-5-4 night from him, but that ain't nothing bad. He's still an all-star.
You know what I always expect from 2 Chainz? I always expect some witty, dope punchline that
With
sticks with you. The one thing I will say about 2 Chainz, man, he always seems to find a way to have the standout verse in a song, no matter who the fuck is on the song. You could be T.I., you could be somebody who, on a technical level, can out rap him. It doesn't matter. He's going to have the standout verse. It's like
what's
that,
that,
huh?
what's that song off Chicken and Beer?
You talking about Got Them Guns? You took it
That's the
back.
one. That's the first time I heard him where I felt like he stole the show from a group of stars.
I mean, I know you don't like this project like that, but that game song really, where Yo Gotti,
See, but
him,
my track precedes that. Don't my track precede that though?
huh?
Doesn't my track precede that? Isn't that before?
Yeah, that's
That's
before. But I'm just saying,
oh
he
yeah.
took on Ti and Game were rapping their ass off on that song, but he had the memorable parts. He's
I
just
mean,
that dominating on a record. Same thing with Ale Boombaye. I
that's
mean,
exactly where I was going, Mike. Ali
he's
Boumaier with Ross and Game.
and so
Mike,
I just expect him on features because he's one of those rappers. If we keep it all the way 100, he has one of the best feature resumes of his generation.
I was about to say,
And
Mike,
so
what they want was Schoolboy Q off Oxymoron. That's one
exactly,
of my favorite Chains features.
exactly. I
Mike,
expect him to
like
take up
Mercy.
space. You know what I'm saying? Like when he's on a feature, I expect a lot. Maybe that's where I'm coming from with it because I think he's one of the best featured artists like of this era or the
No, I
previous era, however you want to word it. And
no, I
he's
agree.
shown that, and he's always done it with style, flair, and just punchlines that stand out, whether they're funny, clever, whatever. And I didn't get any of that on this.
That's why I just put it down as solid.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. You know what I'm saying? But like you said, that oxymoron, what they want, it's like, man. You
Yeah.
remember when he killed Jeezy on that
Him with
song?
whole life.
You remember he killed Jeezy on
Super Freak when they
yeah.
gonna
Yes.
right.
It was super weak. Classic. Or
Yeah.
or remember when he
He's
got
like
on that
and he
what's that song that it ain't nothing got that bitch on that remix.
he's
Yeah.
got stuff everywhere like that, Mike.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
does.
And
And
he's got a nice little catalog himself.
yeah,
So
one of his
yeah.
feature runs was, his first feature run was one of the best feature runs that I think
Well,
we've ever
he's
seen.
had kind of like 2 feature runs. That's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
the first one was dope and the second one was dope. Like he's great.
Yeah.
And lastly, Mike, AZ. Like I mean, and there's a whole like slew of artists on here. I just tried to highlight like the major artists because if we were to go down
Right.
like every artist, like if we go down Mach and Flea,
Yeah, it's a lot on here.
I love Flea
You
on the
liked
back end of Celine Dion though. Flea on the back end of Celine Dion.
I
Oh, that
liked it
sounds
too.
perfect together.
I was gonna say that.
Like,
Yeah.
that's one of those songs where I can already see myself possibly skipping the first half because I like the second half so much. So.
No, I'm with you. I think that's one of the more impressive features on here too. Flea Lord went crazy on Celine Dion.
He's
So
crazy on Celine
I
Dion.
liked his verse on there more than I liked AZ's verse on Averex.
I don't feel that way. I was actually about to say AZ is crisp as ever. He can rap with anybody.
Yeah, he can rap with anybody. You know
Like,
what? I'm just gonna keep it real.
Like he's one of those guys, Mike. And I just want to talk AZ shit right quick. Like I realize it's like because like with him making Do or Die too, and him working and rhyming next to guys like Stove and Conway and Westside and all that. It's like I know that AZ lyrically has a skill to rhyme in the era before him. I just didn't know how he was going to hold up over time, Mike. But he's just one of those guys. He can rhyme in any era because he can really rhyme his ass off.
Yeah.
And there's something to be said for the skill set of rhyming. It's like it's one of those things that when you keep it, it stands the test of time. That's part of the reason why the Locks were on the cover of GQ for the first time. Skills stand the test of time.
Yeah.
Like when you really got them.
And we kind of, I don't want to say predicted this, but we acknowledged this last year when the Locks dropped their album, Living Off of Experience. It was the fact that we were like, yo, these guys sound really good.
Sound fresh. They sound good and they sound fresh. They sound, yeah.
And that carried over into the new year, and I'm glad everyone's acknowledging that. But yeah, I've always said that about Jadakiss, the fact that Jadakiss right now sounds just as good as Jadakiss 20 years ago, 25 years ago. I could say the same thing for Styles, and I could say the same thing for Sheik. And
hey Mike, that Who Shot You verse, like, not too many MCs can do that, Mike.
What you mean?
Like spit that verse with that intensity live like that, with that breath control for that length of time. Like he started the verse, went about 6-7 bars in, stopped it, ran it back, and then went in like flawlessly.
One thing I will say about them too, and I think that Big Daddy Kane is in this conversation also, is the fact that you could tell that as time went on, they took better care of themselves health-wise, which improved their breath control from where they were in their quote-unquote primes, right? Like, Jadakiss now is in much better physical shape than Jadakiss in 2002.
Yeah.
So for him to be able to spit that stuff is even, more impactful.
Like, the last time an MC reminded people of how great they were with just one verse like that was probably when Redman did that verse on the Cypher. Remember when he did that verse on the Cypher that year?
Those guys are in great shape too, by the way.
Yeah, that was the last time an MC did something like what he did with that Who Shot You verse.
Oh, I knew it was coming, man. When he dropped it, I was like, yeah, let's do this. Yeah, I knew it was coming.
Yeah,
and I hate that I picked Dipset over the Locks, but see, the Locks just played it so much better, and I didn't realize the performance was going to be such a imperative part of it. But it's what it is. They changed the trajectory of where Versus goes from here, artist-wise. So it's going to be more performance. And you know who else did that? It was a precursor of that. It was more on an R&B level. But I just knew SWV was going to blow Escape away. But the performance that Escape put on, I can't say they lost that. Escape beat SWV, and SWV got the records.
Yeah. And Escape got records too, but you were right, Mike. The performance.
Look, Letitia Scott was the best singer in the building. Just like Jadakiss was the best rapper in the building.
Was that Coco wasn't the best singer in the building.
That was shocking to me.
That was shocking to everybody a little bit. I think. And that's not the knock Latasha or Candy.
No. And see, the second best singer was Latasha's sister, the other sister from Escape.
Yeah, they sounded good. Everybody. I mean, Escape. Period sounded good that night.
Yeah, Tiny sounded great that night. I mean,
sounded good. No, all four of them.
They came to play, and that was exactly what the Locks did. I don't know if the Locks kind of were taking a look at that, but yeah, the performance won it over, and I know we really took a big look at that because this was Madison Square Garden, this was hip hop, and this was the Locks. But I think Escape kind of really set that blueprint, to be honest.
Yeah, it matter what you sound like live.
It does matter what you sound like live, man. I'm glad that they set that precedence, because a lot of these artists have to understand, man, you can't go out there on stage just grabbing your nuts and thinking that
Hey, Mike, it should be live. What does it say when you go on the IG? IG what?
Live. Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
All right.
All right. So
they said they were.
So you have AZ and Stove and Conway having the most impressive features on here. Where do you put Benny's feature on here?
No, I mean, I don't know if it's Conway's feature. Conway and Stove and Armani are who stood out to me in terms of their performances. I just want to say that AZ, just like, that's what I mean. You can just place him on this album. It's like, oh no, he sounds great right here on 99 Averex. That's perfectly fine. Like, he slid right in after Stove's hook and before Westside. Like, yeah, he sounded great. But I was, as far as most impressed by, I was most impressed by Armani. Most impressive was Conway. If we're just weighing all things together, like verse wise, I mean, wouldn't you say Benny or Electronica's verse is probably the second or third best verse? Like Benny, Electronica, and AZ's verse are all after Conway's. Like everybody did their job as far as the heavy hitters, except for maybe Chains, you'd say.
Yeah,
Like Chains
yeah.
didn't deliver his like necessarily A
What did
game,
you
but it's
think
like it
about
was still
Tyler?
good.
What did you think about Tyler's verse? Tyler
Oh
shit?
yeah, Tyler. Oh, that was my notes on Tyler. Mike. I feel like you. It just sounds like him and Westside really worked well together.
I like Tyler and Westside together.
It's just like them together. It's one of those things. I was like, I didn't never thought that. I was like, that's one of those. I never saw that coming. Could
Well, see,
never see
Tyler
that
made it
pairing
very
really.
clear that
But you know
Westside
what?
and
But when you really start thinking about it, they're both creative. They're both kind of like artists at heart, and so even like the where they exist in the genre in terms of the vibe of music they create is different. Now, when you put creative people together like that know things and understand things, it's a really beautiful pairing. Like
yeah,
everything they've done together thus far has been super impressive. So that
yeah.
was my take on just that, is that they have chemistry.
They do, and I think it really helps when people are inspired by one another because Tyler made it very clear that Westside inspired him to really get back and do some rap stuff again, and that's why we have the project that he put out this year and the effect that it's had. I got to go back and listen to that album again because 2021 has been an interesting year where it's like I don't think that there is a I think the runaway album of the year is gonna have to be KD2, and I think a lot of people are on the same page about that. But when it comes to 2, 3, 4, and 5, like a lot of these things are running together, and I'm not super, this is definitely definitively number 2. This is number 3. Like everything else, and that's a good thing because it's quality.